Welcome to 5 Minutes, your fast track to smarter insurance technology and stronger leadership. Today, we're joined by Aaron Levie, and he's the co-founder and CEO of Box. In this episode, Aaron breaks down how AI is reshaping the enterprise, from unlocking value of unstructured data to why most organizations are stuck in pilot mode, to what it really takes to redesign workflows and lead in an AI-driven world. Let's get into it. You talk about the era of context. And, just kind of as a mental model. And I think about, and I have a perspective, you tell me if you agree, that insurance of all industries probably has access to the most amount of data that's out there across so many different dimensions. I mean, we've got policy data, claims data. I mean, companies like Allstate are tracking billions of miles of driving data and accident data, weather-related data. And you think about the availability as that's so coveted by so many different enterprises. Yet we still feel so information poor in our industry. And so layer on top of that this era of context and what platforms like Box can bring.
I mean, I think you kind of just set it up, which is there's so much telemetry out there in the real world. And there's a lot of telemetry out there with specific customers. The problem is that previously, it didn't necessarily serve you that well to have massive amounts of unstructured data before, because it was very hard to query that data. It's very hard to analyze it, very hard to ask questions of that data. So you could do this in very structured data forms. So if you go to like a cousin industry like financial services in banking, I can go to a Bloomberg terminal and query it and analyze all of the stock information. I can do analysis inside of spreadsheets. Now go back to insurance and just think about all of the unstructured masses of data. There's policy information. To your point, there's weather information. There's these sort of market signals coming in from a pricing standpoint. And so you have to have some way to be able to run some type of machine across all of that data. And before, we could never do that because it's unstructured. And so if it's not structured, then software has been classically very hard at being able to process that data. AI kind of gives us the first opportunity where we can do that. Because you can now take the intelligence that's inside the AI model, and instead of using that context window for chatting back and forth about a general purpose consumer query, you use that context window to give the agent context about now the insurance claim or the market information that you need the agent to go and work with. And so now all of a sudden you have, especially with context windows that are now in the hundreds of thousands of tokens, you could fit entire books worth of information into that context window that you can now interact with. And so again, that could be an entire policy, for a client. It could be an insurance claim process, all the images coming in, all of the documentation coming in, analyze all of that, generate a packet for me of that information. You could take market data, be able to have the agent analyze all of that information. So I think the setup of we have more data than ever, yet to some extent we're information poor in terms of our ability to get real value from that. That's going to go away in the coming years, and AI agents will be the reason for that, because now they can just be cranking and combing through information 24/7, processing anything, analyzing anything, generating new information on the fly for you, and that's just this incredible breakthrough that we have.
So I'm sold. I buy it, and I believe it. And
then we're good.
Then we're good. We're done.
Podcast over.
It's over, right? But it's funny because I think I've heard you say, or I've read in tweets that you're seeing an unprecedented kind of adoption of new technology in AI, and I'll tell you that on the ground, Aaron, I'm struggling to get insurance to move. This is an unprecedented amount of excitement, I would say, that we're seeing. But we're not able to move past pilot. We're not able, and what do you think drives some of that? I'm in the trenches and I'm stuck.
I think AI is a tale of two cities right now. You have the normal kind of early adopter cohort, and in any market in history, that's sort of like 5 to 10% of the market, more or less. And basically that's cutting across every industry because engineers are often early adopters and they're using things like AI coding agents in a very effective manner. and then you'll have like these pilots across all these industries or very applied use cases. But so you have on one hand, I think, a group that is seeing these incredible breakthroughs from AI, and on the other hand, there's sort of everybody else. And what I think the biggest distinction is where AI right now does so well is where the agent has almost complete access to all of the context that it needs to be able to automate whatever it's doing. And in things like coding, for instance, the agent generally has access to the whole code base, and then thus can help accelerate the workflows in coding. And then you look at the rest of knowledge work, and you think about how messy the rest of knowledge work is, where context is coming in from 3 or 5 or 10 different places. Sometimes it's a physical environment, sometimes it's a Zoom meeting, sometimes it's a Slack conversation, sometimes it's your documents. So you have lots of context that's fragmented. You have, in many cases, a sort of less technical end user audience than obviously in coding, where coding by definition, you're gonna have the most kind of technical audience. You have models that haven't necessarily been trained on just these use cases, because we're only now starting to have models get trained on a broader set of knowledge worker tasks. So I think you have kind of 4 or 5, slight impediments relative to again the group that is seeing the most gains from AI. But what I see in our purview is each of those are just going to get knocked down in the coming 1 to 2 years.
Thank you for joining this episode of 5 Minutes. If you've enjoyed our discussion, we'd love for you to share it with anyone else you think might find it interesting. Also, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on and hit that bell to stay on top of the game with our practical 5-minute episodes. We look forward to seeing you again next week.